week of Finding Demo surf fishing. This week we're going on the road. We're leaving Florida. We're leaving the Panhandle, and we're going north. That's right. We're heading up to Charleston, South Carolina. And this week we're talking to Jeremy Evans of the Longest Cast Surf Fishing. So stick around because this is going to be a real educational experience with a really well-known guide in that area. So welcome to the show. Strap in, hang out, and you're listening to Finding Demo surf fishing. Get pumped up. It's going to be a good day. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. All right, everybody. So like I said, we're heading up to Charleston, South Carolina. If you've never been, it is a awesome place to be. I am fortunate enough to say that I lived there for a few years as a kid. Lived up in the Goose Creek area, so it was actually the place I caught my first red drum. Didn't even know that until about a year and a half ago that it was a red drum. The guy I fished with told me it was a spot tail, so whole life that's all I ever looked for was a spot tail. Didn't know what it was. Hey, a little fun traveling in my history there. All right, so without further ado, welcome. Jeremy, thanks for coming on the show, man. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Appreciate you having me on.
you came, I was told, I think, I don't know if it's the exact words, but I think the gist was you better talk to this guy because if you don't, you're missing out on a ridiculous amount of knowledge. So I was very thankful you even picked up the phone.
Yeah, we got a pretty big following up here. I mean, a lot of people coming to me, looking for information, trying to learn the sport, surf fishing. It's a very specific type of fishing. So there's a lot of guys want to do it and get out there on the beach. They don't have a boat or anything like that.
Yeah, that was one of the fun parts. So pre-show, unfortunately, everybody, you don't get to see the pre-show, but that was something we ended up talking about, and we're definitely going to dig into here soon, because it is a very it's a prevalent thing that I see happen a lot with the guides, and especially with the ones I've talked with here. So for everybody here, this is going to be take a look on Facebook, The Longest Cast Surf Fishing. You're also going to be able to find Jeremy at thelongestcastsurffishing.com, and you can contact him through thelongestcastsurffishing@gmail.com. All of those will be linked back in the description of wherever you got the podcast. We are on every little platform, so by all means, go back to that. So, Jeremy, let's go into the area that you cover. So, when we were talking before, Charleston's your main area, and you cover what area for your charters?
We cover, throughout this interview, I'm going to be referencing as we because my wife also has a big part in the business.
Hey, yeah, man.
Um,
The team is key. It's
yeah,
that's awesome.
exactly.
You guys can do that together. That's a good deal right there.
Yeah, so we cover most of Charleston, Isle of Palm, Sullivan's Island, Folly, and then Wild Dunes. We get some clients that are staying there at the villas or one of the hotels, and we'll actually come to them and go right out on the beach where they're located. We always try to go to the clients. So if they're closer to Folly Beach or one of the other, I always try to do that so I have multiple spots.
Yeah. I would figure you guys, not you're probably a lot like the guides here. I mean, you guys all got your honey holes, with the weather and all the tracking and all the things. Like, all right, I know where I'm going to go between this spot and this spot, and it'll be a game time decision. That makes a lot of sense because you want them to catch fish, and
Exactly.
you want to catch fish, so it's all a win in all that side of it. So let's rewind the tape. Let's go back into the history here. What got you into guiding, and how long have you been doing it?
Um, so I've been fishing pretty much my whole life. I mean, started out as a young kid with my grandpa, freshwater fishing. The surf fishing I got into when I was actually in the military in the Gulf Coast. I was stationed in Gulfport, Mississippi. So me and a couple buddies, he was from up north in like the Maine area, and he fished, striped bass. So I kind of got into it with him. Um, that was kind of the start in it. Um, it's I would say like as far as the, I don't know, the history, is that that's what you're asking?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, what got you there? What got? I mean, so you've been fishing a long
Yeah,
time, but what
that's
got you into guiding?
the guiding. That was just, I mean, I was doing a lot of fishing in this area and catching quality fish, and guys were, they all wanted to go with me. They were asking me like, "Hey, I want to catch some of those big reds and sharks," and that's what got me into guiding. As I started taking guys out, and then realized, well, maybe I should do this for a living. So it just kind of just fell hand in hand. I started a Facebook business page and got all that going. Um, and it just picked up really quick. It was kind of surprising at first how well the community received it. Um, as far as I knew, that was the only surf fishing guide. Like I was the only surf fishing guide in the area.
Wow, that's no pressure. I mean,
No,
none at all. Oh man. All right. So built a business from the ground up. All right, and you were the only guy. Dude, I can't imagine that being the only one, especially after what I've seen nowadays. And
yeah,
go ahead.
it's surprising. I mean, there's some in Florida and like Alabama area, but I did my research on it, and that's, as far as I know, there's between like Myrtle Beach, um, and Charleston, on any of the other islands down here. I'm the only surf guide as of right now.
Wow. Well, that's, I mean, huge advantage for you then. I mean, if anybody's traveling to Charleston, you want a surf charter, there you go. You already know who to contact. That's phenomenal right there, man. Good job.
Yeah,
And you do, your fishing style though is a little different here. You're not like us. You're not going out there to target pompano. You like putting customers on the big fish from the surf. Is that right?
yes, yeah. It's the Yeah, I would say like most people that are getting into surf fishing, or they just look it up on YouTube or anything like that. They're kind of thinking more of that, like whiting, pompano, and your smaller species. Maybe um, guys that are more fishing for something to eat, that type of surf fishing.
Right.
Um, yeah, I'm strictly sport fisherman, so we don't keep anything. Like the only times we keep fish are like whiting. We'll keep some for cut bait. Um, very rarely will, if there's a client that wants to keep something and we get a legal species. Other than that, it's mainly, that's our target. Like I specifically target the bigger fish, something that'll pull drag. Something people will remember that catch.
Right. So you're going after those. We call them. I think you guys call them the same. Correct me if I'm wrong. But bull reds, the big ones, the monster black drum, stuff like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're targeting big bull reds. Obviously your sharks are going to be there throughout the summer. Um, we don't specifically target sharks. I mean, we're not like land-based shark fishing, but they're obviously a byproduct. Anytime you're throwing cut bait, big cut bait, you're going to get shark.
Right. That's just the nature of that game. That's for sure. Well, the worst
So,
worst thing you could hook up on is like just what, giant hammerhead and just hold on for the ride and hope for the best. But
yeah,
I can't imagine that.
yeah, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen very often. I mean, it's sometimes you do hook up on something that you just can't turn it, but it's not very often. Which is good. It's not good for the sharks, and you don't want to be hooking into fish that you can't handle.
Right. And a lot of people, we've run into this a lot down here in the Panhandle, and I'm pretty sure it's probably an international thing. People talk about sharks and fishermen, especially the beach ones. They like a lot of the comment of, well, if you weren't fishing here, we wouldn't have sharks closer to the shore. And it's like you realize we're in every fish's backyard, right? We're just fishing.
Yeah,
We're not trying to
yeah.
bring them in here.
It seems like, yeah, a lot of people that don't fish, or they have limited experience, they just assume that that the beach where people are swimming or somehow protected from sharks when they, we're in their environment,
Right.
100%, and the sharks are there. It's like I tell people down here in South Carolina with the stained water, if the water was clear, nobody would swim.
Yeah, that is a very true statement down there. Oh man, you're making me think of Myrtle. Like, no, no, I'm
Yeah.
good. I know it's here. Beautiful beach, beautiful town, but man, no, I ain't getting in the water. Nah, I remember, how old was I? 9? No, I must have been 10. I saw one shark and I was like, I'm good. No, I'm real good. I don't need to swim here. That's, oh man, sorry about that. I digress. So, what do you believe being the advantage and the worth in hiring a surf fishing guide?
I would say it's well worth the money because it's something that anyone can do. Anybody can get into surf fishing fairly easily. But the issue is that there's a lot involved in it to being successful. There's a ton to learn and it's very time consuming. So hiring a guide, every surf fishing guide, including me, is going to be substantially cheaper than a boat guide anyways. Um, but it's very reasonable for how much you're going to learn. And then you're going to not only what the guide will is willing to share, but also just seeing, you get to see where they fish and everything else. You're going to gain a spot as well on top of it.
And you've seen
Um,
you've seen a lot with other guides. I mean, you've mentioned other guides in other zones. Your fishing style there is going to be different though than like the Outer Banks. Kind of the same game, but you're going to have different finesse techniques in your area. Would you agree with that?
yes, absolutely. Yeah, the Outer Banks is, they're it's most people fish the point there,
Right.
and at Hatteras there, and that's like everybody just piles into that one spot, at different times of the year when bluefish run and your red drum runs. Here, it's our beaches are way different. They're very shallow, and the sand, it's constantly changing. Like you don't have that constant ledge like you do in at the Outer Banks.
Right.
So
So the running game gets a little bit different with how you have to play your technique.
yeah, it's just you have to pay more attention to the conditions, where you're going to pick your spot.
And tides for you guys. I mean, just like the east coast of Florida, every 6 hours, your tide flow really does matter to your fishing too. You guys really have to play the game. Is that about right?
Yeah, it's the tides here. It's like they're huge tide swings and they're very fast moving. So that's part of the fishing here. It's like a race, when you get all your gear ready and it's go 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 to catch that tide. Um, you'll see that a lot. Like, I mean, everybody obviously is any fisherman. They're anxious to get out there, but it's funny to see here when it's a good tide. It's a lot of the fishermen, they're racing to get to the water.
All the accesses are clogged up. The carts are out. It's over.
Exactly.
Oh man, I cannot imagine that. It'd be painful for me just to see that. So that's another huge advantage then if you're going down into Charleston to go fish and go with somebody. Now you proved another great point about being a guide is you know the tidal swing, you know when the ideal time to be there, but you also know, hey, the tide's going to turn here. This is when we need to be here, set up, ready to go when this happens. And if you're not from there, you might have an advantage, playing it in different areas, but with you guys, that's something that really you want to be prepared for.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like when I schedule people, I schedule it based on the tide and then the time of day I match, the best tide swing with the window, the time of day, which is usually your, early morning and late evening. But that changes throughout the summertime. Sometimes your time of day isn't as big of a factor as your tide window. So it depends. It's a lot to do for a guide. If you were trying to do all that on your own, especially if you with limited experience, it would be very difficult to have a successful trip on your own.
Yeah. Well, hey, more reason for when I come up because that's just going to have to happen now. So let's actually go back into the people here. So you get asked by new people all the time for advice. And it's a constant for you. You'd mentioned that when we were talking, but you normally refer them to somewhere without talking. You know, you don't waste their time. You're like, hey, look, I got something for you. Well, where do you normally refer people when they're asking you questions like that?
I usually, I mean, obviously, I try to encourage them to book a trip with us, and I tell them that you're gonna get to learn a lot, and you're gonna have a good experience. And get to catch some really good quality fish. Um, I usually try to refer them to some of the local tackle shops here that I know the guys have some experience. I really don't give out too much information, outside of the trips. I mean, it's part of the business.
Right, rightly so.
Um, I do help a lot of people though on the Facebook pages, on the local surf fishing groups in Charleston. Um, I'll gladly share some information.
But you're going to get the
Um,
winning information by coming out with you. So,
exactly. If you really want to see exactly what we do, down to the nuts and bolts, that's how you're going to do it.
yeah, man. So with new people, coming down there and they're fishing, or not even vacationers, just people wanting to start out in Charleston, what do you see as the most common mistake they make that could be easily avoided?
By far, it would be in the gear. That's the biggest thing. Kind of going back to what we were talking about with the tides here. Those big tide swings are really a changed like the type of equipment you need compared to the other areas like in the Gulf. Um, the gear here is going to be based on obviously your target species, but there's a certain point like people want to catch bull reds, but they have an 8 foot steelhead rod with and they can only throw an ounce of weight.
Right.
That's stuff like that. I mean, even if they were able to hook on to a decent sized red, 40 inch, that's what most people consider a bull red here. They're not going to be able to land that fish, unless they have a lot of experience. If you have 12-pound mono or something like that on a 3,000 reel, it's just not the right equipment for the job.
Yeah, that's a super finesse right there, and yeah, that's a lot of patience, a lot of drag manipulation. Ugh, that,
Yeah, and
that would hurt my
it's just
soul.
the with the surf fishing too, it's different. You're not just fighting the fish, you're fighting the waves, the surf. So you have to have the equipment for that. The surf rods are long. A 12-foot surf rod is long for casting, but that's one of the mistakes a lot of people make where they think, okay, a longer rod is going to cast farther. That's not necessarily true. You can cast a 9-foot surf rod just as far, if not farther, with lighter line and less weight.
Right, you got to
You
find that
know,
that sweet spot.
exactly. If you're trying to throw a piece of shrimp on a one-aught hook and you're trying to throw it past the second breaker, because there's bluefish or that's where the whiting are at, then, that's fine for a 9-foot rod. But if you're trying to throw a 2-ounce chunk of mullet with a 6 or 8 ounce weight, that's where that 12-foot rod is going to have an advantage.
God, that's a lot of weight. I mean, sorry, down here the heaviest I throw is a 5 ounce with some light stuff, so maybe I'm throwing six out. But yeah, eight and bait and heavier, y'all have some power down there to throw that stuff, and I understand it now after talking to several of you guys. That's just the nature of your game up there. There's no getting around that. You really got to play that eight and bait if you're going after these bigger fish.
Exactly. And we have, the low country area, we have, inlets and stuff where you can get away from the current some and fish those lighter tackle. And if, you want to surf fish, it's not technically surf fishing, but that's if you're in the surf, the actual surf, then up here, that's what we use. We use 8 and bait
Okay. It,
on our bigger rods.
what kind of rods are you using? I don't think I ever asked you that.
It depends on the time of the year. Like during the bull red run, I'll run 3 bigger rods. So I have 3 12-footers out. Um, they're heavy action, so they're 8 ounce rated. You can with the rods that I have, you can throw an 8 ounce weight and a chunk. Some rods are rated a little bit different, like it's a max rating versus just your lead rating.
Okay.
But that's what we're using for the big fish. When those big fish are thick in the surf, we're just targeting them. We're not wasting time with a bait, a whiting rod or anything.
Right, because you've already got
Uh,
your target plan and you've already zeroed in. So, I mean, why play around for anything else? You're going for the tug of the drug.
exactly. That's once you figure out, you get on a pattern of where those fish are, when they're biting, where they're biting, then you can capitalize and you can catch 7, 8, 10 bull reds in a couple hours.
Oh man, that would be so cool. I'm sorry, we don't get tons of. I mean, we get some bulls here, but I mean, getting them consistently like you're talking about that sounds like a good time. Exhausting, but a damn good time. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. I mean, the surf fishing is just an experience. It's completely different than any other type of fishing. And, you have the waves breaking. There's the sound of being out there right on off the beach, and then you have a totally different fight than a boat where your line is straight out. You're 100-yard cast. So when that fish picks that up, he's peeling, makes a big run. He's got you 150 yards out. It's just a totally different experience. It's a long fight, big fish.
Oh man. All right, that's it. After this interview, I'm going fishing. Fine.
Yeah, that's where I'd be right now. It's the winter blues are kind of hitting a little bit, but we'll get through it.
Yeah. The winter changes everything. It's funny for all of us too, because we all deal with it. We all go with the slow one. It's like New England; they're all, yeah, it's getting cold, bluefish time. All right, and through the rest of us down here, like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, I need my fish back down here. Come on, messing with me.
Exactly.
So when you're talking about big fish, you're also talking about big rigs. Like we're not talking your 1/0, 2/0 circle hooks here. You're going after some big stuff. Um, you're making rigs as well, and you're selling them through your Facebook page. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, we make the same exact rigs we're using for our trips with our clients, or we sell on the Facebook page. Um, Kind of what we've learned, on our own through trial and error and testing different rigs. We want to offer that to the clients or anybody else, or we sell them all over the country. So um, we kind of have a unique design for a castable rig. That's obviously in our name. That's all we do is cast baits out. So that's the number one concern, with the rig, the design of the rig.
Okay. What else can you tell us about it? Like a 50 pound. I haven't seen one yet. I know I'm going to find one eventually. I'm definitely going to be ordering some because I've got an idea for it down here. But can you tell us more about the setup of it?
Yeah, so the original, we have a few different ones, all single hook rigs. They're the original design that I first came up with is all mono. It's a full piece of mono. Um, it's a sliding leader slide style rig. So you have the sinker slide, but it's on the leader. It's not a fish finder rig where you have a leader and then the slide up above on your main line.
Okay.
So that rig is 80-pound mono with an 8/0 hook, and that's going to be your bull drum, standard bull drum rig.
That is not breaking. Dang, man. That's serious right there.
Yeah, that's a good rig. You can catch, a dozen or more bull reds on that one rig, with 80-pound mono without it failing on you. So you get your, money's worth out of it.
Right. And
Um,
the 8/0 is that's a perfect size. And you guys figured that out through a lot of trial and error, I think you were telling me.
yeah, that's originally I started out using 4/0 hooks and smaller baits with that same style rig, and I caught a lot of bull reds on that original rig, but the bait size is very, it's dependent on the hook size, and that's for that size hook and bait, it's ideal for the bull reds.
And I don't I think I'm not asking a trade secret, but I might be. So by all means, just tell me if I am. When you're set up on that kind of, what's your bait of choice on those eight on an 8/0?
Usually cut mullet, so
Okay.
we call them the horse mullet or donkey mullet. They're the big mullets, like your 12 to 14-inch mullets.
Wow.
That's what we're using and cutting that up into like 2-inch wide, basically like steaks.
Oh man, it's like a buffet. Oh, it's brilliant, dude.
Yeah.
So they go nuts for mullet up there like that. Oh man.
That's been the best bait for me. I mean, I use Manhattan and I use a lot of whiting, cut whiting and bluefish that we catch. They seem to they'll eat any of those baits, but the mullet is by far been the most consistent for the bull reds.
Okay. I learned something new today. I've never. I know I'm a horrible angler. I've never used mullet. I mean, I've used a lot of crab, but I might have to go start getting me some mullet there because that sounds smart. Um, so with me digging into your awesome trade secrets, about without giving any away, how do you like to set yourself up for success when fishing?
I mean, it's a long process. It starts from, planning out the day. You got to look at the weather, wind. The wind is another big factor that a lot of people overlook. Um, Wind direction, tide. I don't just go, okay, I'm gonna go fishing this weekend. For me, it's I pick the days very specifically, whether it's, me fishing just for myself or clients, and that's the key. I mean, you got to figure out those patterns of the fish, like what days they're biting on the best. Um that's how I set up for success, and it's once I figured out like the best tides, days to go, wind for a particular spot. um then you just have that constant success rate. It's just piling in.
And doing your homework makes, I mean, it pays off. So, like you said, you also had mentioned one thing, without giving away the area. I think if I bring this up, I don't think it gives it away. But you said, if you've got a north wind, I'm sorry, a north south, that's me. So yeah, for you, that's going to be your right and left. So if you got a wind going north or south, you plan on some points and some things like that. Whereas you have an east or a west wind, face or tail, it kind of changes the game for you there. But it's when it's ripping north and south. That better fishing or worse fishing for you?
The only wind direction that really has an effect on the actual water itself is a north or south wind. So that's going to change the chop of the water. But other than that, it's only affecting your actual setup. Like if you have a wind, say you got a northeast wind, or it's coming from the side, or southeast, that's and your tide is going the same direction. as the wind, and it's a 10-15, that's going to be hard to fish that because the current's going to be pushing your bait as well as the wind is pushing your line.
Right.
So that's something to think about. It's if your bait is drifting, that's going to affect your success. You need to make sure you keep those lines straight out in front of you.
Right. Yeah. What do you use for sinker setup? Are you a pyramid, diamond, cannonball, Sputnik, or what's your preference?
I use bit at pyramid weights or depending on where I'm fishing, if it's like a rocky bottom area, which we actually have here at Sullivan's Island. It's kind of a unique area. Um, I use the bank sinkers a lot there just because they don't get hung up as much. But I like actual lead, like actual weight. A
Right.
lot of guys like the Sputnik weights, which they do hold really well, but the downside to a Sputnik weight is if you're fishing in wind, because sometimes you need an actual 8-ounce chunk of lead to cut through the wind when you cast.
Okay. So when you say actual lead, are you talking like I'm trying to see it? All I see is a big brick right now in my head, but I know
Yes,
you're using something different. What's the design? Is it kind of maybe I can see it that way?
a pyramid weight. Usually
Oh,
that's what we
okay.
like. A 4-ounce Spudnik will hold as good as like a 6-ounce pyramid. So that's where if your main goal is just holding power, then that's the Spudniks are by far the best. But a lot of guys they try to get away with the Spudniks, and again with the lighter gear, they will use a 4-ounce Spudnik on like a 10-foot surf rod so that they can throw it. But if you're fishing in a high wind, which is some of the best days to actually fish, or when it's really nasty out,
Yeah.
that's when you need an actual 8-ounce piece of lead because that's going to cut through the air when you cast.
Okay. So because
Yeah,
those bull reds, I mean, even here on a nasty day, I know it's a red day. Reds, for some reason, love that surf being ugly.
yeah, exactly. And that's how it is here too. It's usually the days that we crush the reds are the days when it's nasty and there's hardly anybody out there fishing.
Yeah, and it's nice. The beach is open then. Not so many people to worry about crossing your line.
Exactly.
So when we're talking about that one, what are your thoughts on the surge of people flocking to surf fishing?
I mean, I haven't seen it so much outside of Charleston. Um, this area I've been here almost 2 years and not a long time, so I would say the surf fishing here is kind of a small community because the beaches are more limited and also you can't drive on the beach. So I would say that definitely it's not as big as like North Carolina or like parts of Texas, stuff like that. Um, but it's definitely picking up in popularity.
No, that's good. Any reason? What? Or any thoughts why for that area? Why it's starting to pick up?
I would just say, I mean, I think the South Carolina, they the fisheries here are amazing. I think that they've done a great job, keep protecting the fisheries here, and it showed. I mean, I think there was more big bull reds caught this fall than the last couple of years. Um, and I think that's people just want to get after those fish, and they see that surf fishing is an easy way to do it.
What do you get? I know for us, 28 is dead. Nope, can't take a red over 28 inches here in Florida. What about up there?
It's 15 to 23 here. I mean,
Wow.
they've changed it recently, but the last I looked, it was 15 to 23.
But your drum seer, your drum fishery though is thriving now. It was hurting for a while from what it sounds like you're saying, and now it's really coming back.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they put more restrictions on the fish here, like across the board, reds, flounder, trout, all of it. But yeah, the bull reds are definitely thriving. I mean, South Carolina is North Carolina I mean, they would have the probably the best red fishery in the country if they, didn't allow the gill nets and stuff up there. But that's, I won't get into that too much. It's just
Oh,
South.
we could do a whole show on that because I'm in the same box. And anybody that's commercial, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. We're the one, the regular angler is the one that gets punished for the overfishing, and it's like I'm only getting one. I can only get one per day. You're getting 500, and some are in that slot, some are not. But you have a blanket safety, and I get punished. No, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sorry when I say that on this podcast. I will happily put it in the description. No, I fully disagree with that. And I think it sucks that we are the ones that have to pay for that penalty when we're not the ones doing it. But sorry, I digress. A little angry.
Yeah, it's
Oh, bring it back a little.
at least in South Carolina, they're doing something right. I mean, there's obviously not a ton of bull reds getting taken illegally or dying from fishing, mishandling and that sort of thing. Um, I mean, there's plenty of bull reds, and they're big bull reds too. These are fully mature fat reds.
Oh man, just thinking about that, I can see because I've got a heavier rod. I've got the Akuma Longitude. It's my heaviest 12-footer that I have, and I've caught plenty of fish on it. But a monster bull red, I've hooked up on one, and just seeing how it bent over, I was like, oh, this is unbelievable. This is gonna be a fight for a day. This is gonna take me forever to get this fish in. So for up there, I've never caught a fish that size that you catch. I can only imagine that rod just bent over, trying to take me with it. So that sounds
Yeah,
fun.
it is. It's a lot of fun, and people love the redfish. I mean, it's just a beautiful fish and very prestigious to catch. You could catch 100. We put guys on 130-pound black tips, but a 30-pound red is, that really lights people's eyes up when they
Oh,
see that.
30-pound red. Oh my god, I can't imagine. Oh,
We've caught some bigger ones than that.
are you
Yeah, I mean,
serious?
yeah, the biggest ones we caught this year were probably close to like 50 pounds.
Holy
Um,
damn! I didn't realize they got that big.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, we catch them in the like 45 to 48-inch range. That's like probably the average. But some of the biggest ones taken this year were like 50 inches, and the biggest one was 55.
Oh man! Wow! And it was probably some kid with a Zebco. Come on, you just got to tell me it's got to be that.
No,
No, that would have
no,
been
that was
hilarious.
on the 55 was actually I caught that one when me and my wife went out, just me and her.
Oh wow, that must have been fun.
Yeah, it was a big fish.
It sounds like it. I can only imagine.
But I mean, there's a ton of fish. There's surf fishing down here. I mean, you have a lot of big fish, that you can catch. Like, um, I mean, there's the big black tip sharks. You have, um, I mean, my wife, she caught a 50-pound king mackerel in July
Wow.
off the beach, and then we caught a tarpon in August. So I mean, you can catch a lot of fish, different species too.
Dude, that's
So
going out with you sounds like a win every time now. No, I have to come up now. I have no choice. So, well, I mean, that's going to push me into this question. Is your business open year round, or you do seasonal, right?
it's open year round. The winter time though, I don't fish a lot in the winter time just because it's much slower. If the sharks are gone, so that kind of takes away from the action. I want people to have that experience of multiple big fish, double hookups, running back and forth craziness type of experience, something they'll really remember.
I don't like going fishing, but you're really doing a workout, doing your shuttle runs. I mean, you get a full body in there, so I get that. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
That's what they need
yeah,
to do.
that's
Go ahead.
that's what we do. I mean, that's what our business is all about. We want people doubled up, big fish, drag screaming.
Hair on fire
So,
fishing. Oh man, that sounds fun.
uh,
So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one down here, and I always end it with this question here. What do you wish someone coming down to Charleston to do some surf fishing that's never fished there before would do before they even put a line in the water?
I honestly, I mean, obviously, I wish they would book with me first,
Of
but
course, of course.
that's not always going to happen. I mean, they fish in other areas. They're kind of stubborn. They want to figure it out on their own. But um, the biggest thing is just having the right gear and stuff. Because if you bring down your bass rods from up north or whatever, people come in here, which we see all the time at the tackle shops, it's if you're casting those lighter rods and stuff out into the surf, and you have a big piece of mullet on there and a shark picks it up, they're just going to spool you and break you off, so you're leaving line out in the water and all that. That's the biggest thing. I wish people would just you know take the time and spend the money, get a setup that can actually handle the fish here.
That's a big one right there. Well, you definitely nailed it, man. I mean, especially with the gear one. So it's you're, I think, the third or fourth person that's told me the gear being the biggest one. Like, please get the right gear, and the next being talk to your local tackle shop. Um, well, I guess the actual first is, well, why don't you actually call me? Because you don't need to buy gear. You just come out and fish, and I'll get you on the fish, and we'll be all good, and I'll save you a bunch of money because what you're going to buy, you're going to waste your money on and be, or bring your wrong gear and be upset that you did something you weren't supposed to. So, good
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
Go ahead. It's what?
yeah, that's I mean, the tackle shops here, the local tackle shops here, they're very knowledgeable, and I just think that's, people go to the tackle shops, get some advice, that goes a long ways.
Yeah. I think gone are the days are the I don't want to say the 80s or 90s mentality of the tackle shops just there to make their money, rip you off, and take that one. I can't say I've been to a tackle shop in, I don't know, the last 5 years that I've walked in and they were just like, oh, you need this, you need this, you need this, and just trying to ring the bill up. Uh,
Yeah, I've never been in a tackle shop like that either. I mean, I just don't think the fishing community is like that. I mean, guys are, they're very passionate about fishing, and I think it's a sport that people enjoy, sharing the experiences and stuff. Um, I know the tackle shops here are very helpful, so anybody coming to Charleston, that won't be an issue at all. They can get all the help they need, and most of the time you don't even have to spend any extra money. It could be something as simple as just a rig, setting your rig up a little different.
yeah. Well, getting you set up will be a success. And now, I know if I come to Charleston, well, when, because it's not if, it's when. When I come up there, I'm definitely going to be booking you because I'm not going blind, man. I'd rather fish with you. And I don't know, while we're out there, maybe I'll bring the recorder and be like, all right, you want to talk a little? we'll,
Yeah,
we'll play the game live a little bit and really get in on it. So, well,
yeah, definitely. I'd love to take you out sometime, show you the ways up here, see what you think compared to Florida.
I'm all for getting my ass kicked by a red. If that's one fish I'm accepted for, yeah, I'll do it. I'm down. Beautiful. Oh man.
Yeah, you might get a tarpon. You never know.
Oh, that's on the list. I don't think somebody's told me I can catch him here, but I got to go to the pier, and I'm not a pier guy yet. I'm not comfortable on the pier. I don't have that mentality. I don't have that calmness. People get in my bubble,
Yeah,
and I'm a little like, all right, this isn't going to end well for either of us. I don't know what it is. Too many years in the Corps.
exactly.
That's what it is. It's too many years in the Corps. Oh
Yep.
man. All right, Jeremy, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you coming on, taking the time with me today, and definitely, letting a few things out. You dropped a ton of great knowledge for people to come up to Charleston, and if you all are heading up there, definitely take a look at Jeremy. He, again, the longest cast surf fishing You can get him there on Facebook, on his webpage, thelongestcastsurfishing.com, and reaching out to him through email at thelongestcastsurfishing@gmail.com. And again, we will have links to all those descriptions on there so you guys can reach out and get in touch with him from there and plan your trip up to Charleston and get set up because, man, I want to see some fish. So if anybody listening, you're catching with Jeremy, you got to post them up because I want to hear about it. All right, man. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's been a good, yeah, good interview. Enjoyed it.
Likewise, man.
Definitely, hopefully work with you again.
Oh, I think we will. Oh, I have a good feeling that's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right, man. Until next time, we'll talk soon, okay?
Yeah, take it easy.
Yeah, man. So everybody, again, thank you so much for sticking with us this week. Again, we talked to, again, I can speak English, the Longest Cast Surf Fishing. Lots of great information for Charleston, so go ahead and head on up there. If this podcast was helpful for you, don't forget to share it out there. Like, comment, subscribe. Come on back. We're available on every podcast area. You got Podbean, podcasting from Apple, Amazon, Spotify, you name it, we're out there. Help me out by helping you out. If you got an idea for the show, by all means, send it in. I'd love to hear about it. If you got a guide in your area that you think would be a great fit to talk about fishing in their area, by all means, please bring it in. This is not a podcast just for Florida. We are taking this all throughout the country. We will be hitting all the East Coast. We will hopefully be hitting the West Coast here in the next few months. So come back, stick around. I appreciate you. I'm really glad you were here. And you're listening to Finding Demo Surf Fishing. We'll see you next time. Bye.